Hello, and welcome to Discover Stories on Reimagine Radio. I'm your host, Sean Burdett with the Vancouver Adapted Music Society. Today on the show, we have Mike Stiles. Mike is the current board chair of the British Columbia Mobility Opportunities Society, or BC-MOS. Mike, thank you so much for coming on today. How's it going?
Good. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you. So just starting off here, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, well, I born and raised in Alberta. Moved west when I was 17. Traveled through most of BC. Did a lot of odd jobs here and there. Lot of time in the Okanagan picking fruit. Then I guess I was pruning grapes in February. And one of the guys, one of my coworkers, actually knew my parents in Alberta. And he worked at the Thoroughbred racetrack in Vancouver, and I was a perfect size for being a jockey. And he says, "Wow, you shouldn't be working in a vineyard." And I says, "You should be down in Vancouver riding horses." So and he hooked me up with one of the leading trainers in Vancouver. So I headed down to the racetrack in March, and then started riding horses. And it was December 7th, and I was breaking quite a few colts for one of the bigger thoroughbred farms in Aldergrove when I had a wreck and broke my neck. Was a burst back fracture of C6, C7. And then I proceeded to go into hospital, Shaughnessy, and GF Strong. Got out of GF Strong. Try to get on with my life best I could. I was hurt on the job, so retrained through WorkSafe and got a job as a computer programmer at BC Tel, which is now TELUS. Started shooting as well, so did some sports, and became very active in multiple societies. I guess I'm one of the founding directors of what was first club we started, first society was Doves, Disabled Adult Riders in Vancouver. It all happened because I was in GF Strong, just doing some outpatient stuff, and met Sam Sullivan. And I don't know how the conversation got started, but we all, I guess there was three of us quads thinking, we should start flying ultralights for some reason. So that's how Doves was born. Then I progressed into BC-MOS. I was one of the founding directors of BC-MOS and DSA and Connector. So we're very active in the, disability foundation groups. Moved out of Vancouver in 2000 back to the Okanagan. Married in 2010. Have two girls myself, just about 6 and 8, and a stepdaughter who's 18. I guess that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. Yeah, no, and obviously I want to dive into each of those aspects of your life. I guess just starting off, you talked about a little bit, but could you tell us a little bit more about your experience following your accident with your disability? How did that really initially?
Yeah, it was clearly quite a shock. I was very active, strong, riding horses. They're quite powerful they're big animals, and so I was extremely fit. And going to a C6, C7 quad. I could, I couldn't lift my arms. I couldn't comb my hair. I couldn't do anything. So into rehab, and but it was clearly a shock. But continually got, started to get stronger and better. And I there was a shooting demo at GF Strong, target shooting, and I grew up in Alberta. I was always hunting and fishing, and we had a gopher problem for many years, and so I got a lot of target practice. So I a pretty good shot. So my there was this demo in the gym, and so they said, well, my friend said, well, come on down. I was like, I'm a quad. I mean, my hands don't work. How am I ever going to pull the trigger, right? So he persuaded me to go down, and so I started shooting, and I found that I could still hold the rifle and pull the trigger, um, quite good. And then after I got out of GF Strong, I went to the club that had the demo, for a few nights. I got out in September, so from September to December, I went, a few times to the club and practiced. And then again, it was my friend said I should go to this turkey shoot on Boxing Day. It was just a year after my injury, and I'm feeling extremely disabled. I mean, I had no idea what I was going to do in life. What could I do? I was depressed. And so he says, well, you've been, practicing, you're shooting pretty good. Oh, come on out. And so I basically had to throw me in the car to go. And so I went, right. So I get there and I wheel up to the entry table to, buy some, half dozen tickets to go into some matches. And I mean, they looked at me the same way. I felt extremely disabled, and it was like I could see they didn't want to take my money because, like, so they did, and so I proceeded to go in 6 matches, and I won them all quite handily. And I mean, there was only one guy that was close, and those same people, came up to me and says, "Well, I've never asked anybody to stop shooting, but would you?" Because you're just people are stopped, come into the match, right? And I run all day, so I mean, so yeah, so I left there with not only a trunk full of meat and and but completely different outlook on life, and, thinking, I went in there completely disabled, and it was like, wow, I can still do something, right? It was the turning point in my life. Um, so I guess I always look back to that moment, and yeah, I can still do something after I had that great experience. So all the societies that I've got into, and sport, it's fishing. This is the same thing. It's you still being able to do something, and having that experience and giving that experience to other, individuals with disabilities has really motivated me, to try to, provide that experience to others, and, help them, move on with their disability, and, in life, and into the community. And, yeah, so I guess, it has been an incredible passion of mine. So.
Absolutely. You mentioned that really it was after that first that first experience that you really found this, I guess, how you put this new purpose in life, and you felt reinvigorated. My understanding is you did go on to compete in the Paralympic Games. Would you say like that was the moment that you decided to go pro, or what really drove you to go down that path?
Kept competing, or going out to that club, and we participated in the BC Games, um, and throughout the province, and then we went to the nationals in Edmonton, and the national coach saw me and he says, "Well, wow, you've got potential." So I basically started on the national team, and then on to the Paralympics in Spain. It was Barcelona that only Paralympics I made, but I was on the team, and world world championship team 1998, and multiple European gold medals. And so yeah, I was at one time had the record in the world for shooting.
Incredible.
But I guess all the gold medals I won didn't really match to the first turkey shoot, and that it was that turkey shoot that really changed my life basically. So,
Fascinating. And then I also understand that, following your experience with shooting, you also got into piloting ultralights. How did that come about?
well, again, that was Doves. That was the first society that Sam Sullivan and I you know start well. It was I don't know whose idea it was. Like I said, I know it's been so far. It was, I mean, that was back in '86. It was flying ultralights, was getting into the ultralight and seeing your chair there sitting as you take off. It's the freedom of not having to deal with curbs and so forth. So it was really a really enlightening experience of being able to just get off and do something that you couldn't before, right? Same with the sailing, or paddling. It's all the ability to leave your chair behind, you know, do something like everybody else. So I mean, yeah. So the trail riders or sailing or all those things, but really, really, people really got behind that, and you could see people, the enjoyment, that they saw or experienced when they were able to do that. It's really gratifying.
And would you say like that was really your main motivation for you to start getting into advocacy work?
Well, I guess I have a passion for the societies. As a disability advocate, I just see there's so many issues, simple, basic issues that still exist, sidewalks, and so forth. That Rick Hansen wheeled around the world over 30 years ago, trying to increase accessibility, and it's still the basic things. Um, Parking for a person in a chair is, you know, once, and when I first got my driver's license in 1985, you know, it was restricted to a driver with a disability, and you had to use a mobility device. And while the people without devices, chairs, canes, and hit classified as hidden disabilities, they certainly should have had access to better parking, closer parking. So I mean, hindsight is 2020, but I wish they would have added additional spots next to the wheelchair spots, from day one. But that didn't happen. So I mean, it's how do we change that, going forward? I guess is an issue. It's it's you take somebody out on a trail rider or sailing, and they're empowered, and all these activities that I'm passionate about and doing. They're empowered, but then they go to the grocery store and they fight and struggle just to get a parking spot. So really, you know, as much as they were just empowered, they were deflated by simple things that shouldn't be there. So yeah, so I guess that that's what motivates me to be an advocate for the parking, the sidewalks that are still an issue, and so forth.
Absolutely.